The stone doesn't move. You press your hand against it, cold, ancient, impossibly smooth. Around you, the city of Cusco breathes with history, but your attention stays fixed on this wall. On the way, these massive blocks, some reaching up to 5 meters in height and weighing between 100 and 125 tons, fit together so perfectly that not even a sheet of paper slides between them. No mortar, no cement, no modern machinery, just stone against stone, locked together for centuries, and somehow still standing. Cusco sits high in the Peruvian Andes, at an altitude of over 3,700 meters. It was the capital of the Inca Empire, one of the largest empires the Americas had ever seen. But beneath the colonial streets and Spanish churches, something older waits, something that predates the Inca themselves: the walls of Sacsayhuaman. Built from enormous limestone and andesite blocks, these walls have puzzled archaeologists, engineers, and historians for decades. The quarries where the stones were cut sit between 20 and 35 kilometers away. The terrain between them is steep, uneven, broken by rivers and mountain ridges. There were no wheels in pre-Columbian Peru, no iron tools, no pulleys or cranes in the modern sense. Yet these stones were moved, shaped, and fitted with a precision that defies simple explanation. When engineers began studying the walls closely in the 20th century, they expected to find crude handiwork. What they found instead stopped them. Each stone has multiple faces, some with as many as 12 distinct angles. Every face fits flush against its neighbor, not approximately, not almost, flush. The contact surfaces are so refined that researchers have used laser measurement tools and still struggled to find consistent gaps. This leads us to a startling conclusion. The Inca, or whoever built these walls, understood something about stone and structural engineering that we have not fully reconstructed. It wasn't brute force. It was knowledge. But what kind of knowledge? One theory centers on a process called scribing and fitting, a technique where one stone is repeatedly lowered onto another, the contact points marked, and material gradually removed until the surfaces match perfectly. It is painstaking, it is slow, and it would have required enormous coordination and patience. The evidence remains inconclusive, yet it suggests an organized labor system of extraordinary discipline, thousands of workers, sophisticated management, generational knowledge, passed without written records. Some researchers have proposed the use of ramps, levers, and rocking techniques to move the blocks incrementally. Experimental archaeology has confirmed that human-powered systems could, in theory, move stones of significant weight. But the Sacsayhuaman blocks push well beyond what any experiment has replicated at scale. The honest answer is that no single method has been demonstrated to fully account for what we see. And then there is the earthquake question. Cusco sits in one of the most seismically active regions of South America. Over the centuries, major earthquakes have repeatedly struck the region. Spanish colonial buildings, constructed on top of and around Inca foundations, have crumbled, cracked, and collapsed. The Inca walls beneath them have not. This is not coincidence. The interlocking polygonal design, irregular shapes, fitted together like a three-dimensional puzzle, distributes seismic energy differently than straight, mortared walls. The stones shift slightly under pressure, then resettle. They breathe with the earth rather than resist it. It makes one wonder if the intent was far more deliberate than we assumed. Not just a wall, a system, engineered not only to stand, but to survive. Spanish chroniclers who arrived in the 16th century were visibly shaken by what they encountered. One wrote that the walls appeared to have been built by demons because no human effort could explain them. Others suggested the stones had been softened, made pliable somehow, before being pressed into position. These accounts were dismissed for centuries as colonial fantasy. But the question they were reaching for has never entirely disappeared. There is something else. At certain points along the walls of Sacsayhuaman and other Inca sites across Cusco, researchers have identified stones with unusual surface treatments, slight indentations, subtle curves, surfaces that seem deliberately polished beyond what structural necessity would require. Why go further than needed? The evidence remains inconclusive, yet it suggests that for the builders of Cusco, these walls were more than functional. They were a statement, perhaps a message, directed at who or what remains part of the mystery. The Inca called Sacsayhuaman the head of the puma, part of a city they believed was built in the shape of that animal when seen from above. Modern satellite imaging has lent some support to this idea, though the full outline remains open to interpretation. What is certain is this: when the Spanish demolished portions of the site to build their own city, they used the stones they could move. The largest blocks, the most perfectly fitted, the most precisely placed, they left alone. They had no way to move them. We still don't fully understand how anyone did. Somewhere beneath the streets of modern Cusco, in walls that have outlasted empires and earthquakes and centuries of neglect, that knowledge still exists, pressed into stone, fitted edge to edge, waiting to be read by someone who finally understands the language. What do you think the builders of Cusco knew that we have lost? Leave your theory below, because the stones aren't giving up their answer.